Hello, and welcome to Big Boy Bigger Dreams. I am the big boy with the bigger dreams, Eden Longson. And welcome to the podcast. I haven't posted a podcast in a while, since February, I think, was the last time I recorded one. I don't know what the problem's been with me recording them. I think it's just a mixture of like life and just trying to do other things. And then also sometimes it is quite difficult to find the mental capacity to make yourself vulnerable for 45 minutes or whatever at a time and actually sit and talk about yourself and about like what you're going through. It is sometimes kind of difficult to force yourself to do that for an extended period of time. So I'm here trying. So if you've never listened to Big Boy Bigger Dreams before, it's literally just it's the world's first plog. I like to call it the world's first plog. It might not be, but plog basically meaning it's like a blog or a vlog, but now it's a plog, because you can download this and listen to it in audio form. I'm also recording a video version of it today. I'm going to try and maybe do more video stuff. I think let's get into the episode. So the episode, I like to come up with names for the episodes, just to give them some direction. And today's episode is called Highs and Lows. And yeah, I think recently I've been feeling pretty low. In terms of my mental health and in terms of just like direction in life and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sort of bringing back the pod hopefully so that I can chart myself feeling more successes or doing more, or just, I don't know, it feels like a productive step towards not feeling so low. Now, what's got me feeling so low? I don't know. Sometimes it's just your brain. Sometimes you're just feeling low. Sometimes it is external factors. I don't know. But maybe it is. Maybe it's a confluence of the both. But I'm trying to work hard because, whether it is external factors or whether it is just your brain feeling low and not getting enough dopamine or whatever, I think there are ways through it and active things that I can do, active steps I can do. And maybe one of them is chatting shit for 45 minutes into a camera, which is actually my phone, and into speaking into a microphone, which I have these AKG microphones. I think it's called a D5. Yeah, it's an AKG D5. They're sort of like, I don't know, like a cheap version of an SM58, I guess. But I don't have a pop shield with me right here in the studio that I rent. But I do have this foam thing that doesn't quite fit. I'm going to put it to the camera. It almost looks as if my microphone has got like an afro, which is pretty cool. Big fan of the afro, so yeah, I'm here for it. Yeah. Well, you know what else has been getting me low? This is a hot take. I hate how sunny it is. It's really sunny in Britain at the minute, especially in London. It's just like upwards of like high 20s, mid 30s degrees centigrade, which is just unbearable for me. I really, really hate the heat. I think I find I run hot anyway. I think I definitely run hot as a person. So I'm just usually a bit of a furnace. I do warm up. And so I'm okay with cold weather because I always kind of feel fine. Like I'm one of those, absolute maniacs that will go out in, the cold weather with shorts on, just because I think apparently a lot of heat gets released from your calves or your lower legs, apparently. So if I'm running hot, shorts really help. I'm wearing some shorts today. But yeah, in the winter, I'm sort of sometimes pretty fine wearing shorts. But this weather is just pain. It's just so hot. Like there is honestly no need. Like if they took 10 degrees off this, that would still be a hot day. That's genuinely where I'm at. But I feel like, I don't know about everyone else, but because I know there are some people who love the sun. I remember my ex's mum, as soon as it got even remotely sunny, she was like in the garden, like sunbathing. She was like, right, great. She'd look up to the sky and just be like, cook me. She really, really just loved being in the sun, and she always wanted to be in the sun. But that's just never been true for me. I love looking outside. I love seeing outside when it's sunny. Sorry, I'm just scratching my eye there for those video viewers watching me scratch my eye like a maniac. But no, I love how everything looks in the sun. But just being out there, you just feel horrible. It makes me feel really lethargic. It makes me feel like I want to sort of melt into the pavement. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm genuinely not a fan. Like, I've been on a couple of holidays somewhere like kind of warm. So I remember going to Crete, and I remember that being so hot. Like, I went to Crete when I was 18, I think. Yeah, I was 18. And honest to God, like, me and my ex went, and we flew in, and remember them opening the doors, and me just wanting to just close the plane doors again and just fly home because it was just so hot. And it was like the middle of the night when we got there, and it was still baking hot. It's like, this can't be real. This is fake. This is a prank, right? This can't be true. And yeah, and then I remember, like, we went to Knossos one day, which is the sort of mythological home of the Minotaur, I think, and also of the king, not King Midas, because that was in Phrygia. The king who trapped Icarus and Daedalus, and then Daedalus. So in the Greek myth, Daedalus was a sort of was he a carpenter? I don't know. He was some sort of, like, he made stuff, right? He was a good job with his hands, and so the king trapped him. The king of Knossos trapped him in a tower, to force him to make these brilliant inventions for him. And he trapped him there with his son, Icarus. And then one day, Daedalus made them both wings out of wax so that they could escape. And so they both put their new wings on, and they jumped out the window, flew away. And then, as the story goes, Icarus kept flying higher and higher because he was so excited to be flying and to be free, until eventually he flew too close to the sun, and his wings of wax melted, and he fell to the ground and died. Funny how that story is always sort of like, oh yeah, he flew too close to the sun. He did too well, and that's why he failed. And I think that feels like, am I just a raging socialist, like, woke libtard now? Because I honestly read that story as like an oppression from the people who are like at the top of industry and stuff, who are like, oh yeah, don't fly too close to the sun. You know, if you do too well, that'll be your downfall. So don't do too well. That's kind of what it feels like. I don't know. That could just be being really, maybe a bit too woke. But that's just kind of how I read it. But yeah, we were there anyway. Bloody hell, how did I get there? We're in the ruins of Knossos, and legitimately, you couldn't spend more than a few seconds in the open sun. We had to, everyone who was there, literally everyone who was there, had to hop from like shadow to shadow, because there was just, you just couldn't be out in the sun. You were baking. You were literally baking. And so it was just hell. I remember we went to the beach one day, and we couldn't walk on the beach with your bare foot because it was just too hot. You had to like wear flip-flops even just to like get to the water to go and have a swim. Absolute madness. And I've been to Florida as well, and that was warm. Although they had the cool thing of there'd be a thunderstorm every day. So I remember I went in June 2015, and I remember like you'd be having like a really, really sunny day, like the sunniest day you've ever been in, and then all of a sudden 1 o'clock would turn up, and you'd be in the worst thunderstorm you've ever been in, and then an hour later it's gone. It was mad. It was really, really mad. And honestly, within half an hour after then, you couldn't tell there had even been a storm because it was so hot that it had just dried up all the rain that had fallen. So even though there'd been, you know, an Atlantic Ocean level amount of water rain from the sky, you couldn't tell just because it was that sunny. But yeah, I think with this kind of weather, it just makes me feel really lethargic and really like, makes me not want to get out of bed just because I'm so hot and baking. Like, I don't feel productive. Like, I don't feel... not that one's worth should be measured in their productivity, but definitely it feels like it just feels oppressive. Like, it feels like, oh, I don't want to go outside because it's too hot. I don't want to be inside because I feel like I'm wasting the outside. And like, you just sat there, and I'll be sat at work, because I have a day job, and which I want to talk about in a second as well. But you'll be sat there behind the desk doing some work, trying to get some work done, and it feels like, I don't know. You look outside and see how beautifully sunny it is, and I work at a building where it's like known as the dance building. It's the Larbin building, and you'll see all these dancers outside just sunbathing, and you're like, oh god, I wish I could be out there sunbathing. That'd be great. But then you're like, well, no, because I'd be boiling, I'd be dying. They're all like young and thin, so they're all fine. Whereas like I'm approaching my 30s and a bit of a bigger guy, so I'm going to be just a puddle if I go and sit out there. And you sat in the office and you're trying to write, and you're like, oh, I can't concentrate. It's just too hot. Like there's just no. It fogs my mind. Like it genuinely, I think it really fogs my mind. Like in speaking on this podcast now, I feel clearer than I've felt in days, just because I felt so foggy and lethargic because of the heat. Like this is really helping, actually. Just talking shit into a microphone is really actually helping. But yeah, I recently changed jobs, so I still work at the same company, Trinity Larbin School of Music and Drama. Yeah, School of Music and Drama, Music and Dance. Sorry, Trinity Larbin School. Conservatoire of Music and Dance. Trinity Larbin Conservatoire of Music and Dance. Fucking hell, I don't even know where I work, sorry. And I used to work in the junior department, so that I moved down to London last summer because of various personal reasons, and I just kind of wanted to try and break London, as it were, which is very well documented at the start of this podcast series, Big Boy, Bigger Dreams, streaming everywhere. You're already listening. Why am I advertising? You're already listening. Hi mum. I assume you're the only one listening. Anyway, yeah, I came and worked in the junior department, which was really rewarding in many ways. But it was full time, so it was 5 days a week, Tuesday to Saturday, and the Saturdays could be pretty full on. It was just quite a full on job where every day you're just doing all this administration and working and just. You're inundated with stuff every day, and like stuff gets on top of you really easily just because there's just so much going on. And I decided to quit because I'd had enough. I just there was some politics stuff which I wasn't a fan of. I didn't really want to get involved in any of that shit, and I also just felt like I'd decided on the career of an administrator, which I'm not. I'm not an administrator. I am a composer. I'm a drummer. I'm a podcaster. I'm all these things. I need to be doing those things. So I thought, I'm going to quit. I'm going to look for a part-time job. And a part-time job became available at Trinity. So now I'm the research administrator. So even though it's only 3 days a week as opposed to 5, it's a slightly higher grade. So it balances out kind of. And you might think of that as like a high. Yay, I got a new job. Woo! It's still a job that I don't want, and it's a job that's really involved. I probably shouldn't say that out loud on a podcast, because like anyone could hear this, but it's true. Like it's a job that I'm doing because I need to eat and pay rent and live. Not because I want to be an administrator, not because I want this isn't what I want my life to be honest, to be frank with you. So it's a really double-edged sword. It's really funny how highs and lows can come to you at the same time. Like something can be a cool thing or a thing that you've like really tried for, but then sometimes that can come with consequences, and sometimes it comes with, lows. Like, I think about my life over the last couple of years. In 2021, I let off a nuclear explosion in my life. I dropped a bomb right in the middle of my life. And for a while, I felt all the highs from it. I remember thinking, oh, this was a good thing to do. This is a good thing I've done. And I felt really, really happy in many, many ways. But I still phoned the Samaritans in that time. Like, I'd be going out and having fun and seeing people. And I'd started seeing a new person. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm doing amazingly. And then still like sat in the kitchen of a flat that I rented in Hume in Manchester, just crying on the phone to the Samaritans. Like, that's not a high, that's a low. And I think sometimes the more extreme highs you experience, the more extreme lows you experience. I don't know if that's always true, but sometimes I found it is anyway. And last summer I experienced just some completely shocking lows, and then they extended into, I mean, it's documented on this podcast, but the start of October was not a good time for Eden. Very much not a good time. I was having a real shite time. And then I think about the fact that I just decided I wanted to move to London, and I got a job. And then I subsequently have got another job. And I've made loads of friends down here, and I'm playing with a big band, and I go to jazz jams, and one of my best friends from my hometown has moved here now as well, so I see him a lot. Another friend has moved here as well, so I'm going to see him a lot as well. One of my best friends from uni lives in London, so I get to see him more as well. There's lots and lots of stuff, quote unquote, going for me, down here. As in, things aren't bad, but then it's so difficult to explain. I'm really curious to anyone who doesn't feel who doesn't have depression or doesn't suffer with some kind of depression. I'm really interested to know how you just start your day and you're like, yeah, sick, let's go. It's funny. Jobs, that thing of my job, because I think it's this last week I've been into work and I just really was sat there I don't like this. I really don't like it. I'd rather be a lot poorer than I am and not doing this. I'd rather be doing just bar work or lifting stuff. Can someone pay me the same amount of money, but I can just be in charge of lifting stuff? And maybe a forklift license, so I can use a forklift to just move it around. Can I work in a factory or office distribution center or something, but I only work there 2 or 3 days a week, but I still get paid loads of money. Well, I don't get paid loads of money right now, but I still get paid enough. That'd be great. There's a great sketch from I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, which is a great sketch show on Netflix. And there's this sketch. It's really, really weird. It's this fake advert for a doggy door. A dog door, dog flap. But this one is activated by a chip inside the dog's collar, and the guy who's advertising it, played by Tim Robinson, is there yeah, so it means that you won't get thieves or intruders or that weird creature that burst in here the other night. And he talks about how this weird creature burst in and came up to attack him, and turns out it was actually his neighbor had put a Richard Nixon mask on a pig and had sent that in. And he has this moment where he says, my first thought was, he says, I'm not an idiot, but for those first 50 seconds, I thought, this is real. That's a monster. Monsters live on Earth, and that's a monster. And he said, my first thought was, it's okay because I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And he was like, why is that the first thought I had? What have they done to us? What is this world? I love that. When he says that, what have they done to us? It's so true. What have they done to us? We really all just live our lives for someone else all the time. And it's interesting, though, because I currently live my life, as in my working life, to administrate the stuff that the research department does, which involves, however many students we've got doing research. And for the higher ups at Trinity, so that's quite a few people. But as a musician, I want to play for as many people as possible, millions of people if possible. That'd be great. A few hundred would be amazing. A few thousand would be exceptional. A few 100,000, oh my God. I mean, if I could reach, millions and millions of people or thousands and thousands of people, that would just be incredible. It's funny how I want to live my life. I'll happily live my life for you and for them, for everyone who listens. But not for the 10 people who were sort of in charge of me at Trinity. It's kind of funny, that, isn't it? What does that mean? I don't know. But what else did I want to talk about today? I don't want to spend all my time talking about how much I hate my job that I'm very privileged to have. But yeah, I think I feel very rudderless, and I've just got so many things I want to do. Like for example, I went up to Manchester recently, and I played in a production. So I played drums, and this production was the 2023 Arden School of Theatre final year show, and we played 2 shows in once. So usually what happens is when they've got a when you've got a big cohort of students and you want to do a big show at the end of the year, usually they double cast it. So they'll have cast A and cast B, and let's say they do 4 shows. Cast A will do 2 shows, cast B will do the other 2 shows. And most of the background actors, the extras and stuff, the people who are like, and the understudies and stuff, they'll always be the same. But then cast A and cast B are like the main characters. And that's cool, great, whatever. But interestingly, this time these cats decided to they decided they would rather have 2 different shows, so 2 separate shows. So we played. So it's the same band lineup for each show. The guitarist was different for the shows, but everything else was the same. And yeah, so I played 2 separate shows in 1 week. I played Pippin and Addams Family. 2 great shows, 2 brilliant shows, 2 great casts as well. But it was extreme. It was a bit like, because, you know, Pippin is like this old school rock opera, which is, it's a really mad show by Stephen Schwartz, who went on to do things like Wicked, but it's a really mad show. It's about Pippin, who is based on this medieval king, and there's like references to like Charlemagne and people like that. It's all very odd, and it's about him trying to find his purpose, but it was an all-female cast, which was kind of like an interesting subversion of the whole story. Then Adams, and so the music for that story, I should say, is like really rocky and some gospel. I think it was bankrolled by Motown, so there's like a lot of Motown bits. But then Addams Family is like Latin and pop and that kind of stuff. And you're just like, what? These are 2 completely different shows. And so, you know, you'd finish one and then go on to the next one that evening, and you'd be like, oh my God, you've got to like rejig your entire brain to try and figure it back out again. So yeah, I love doing pit playing. I love playing drums in a pit. I love playing for musical theatre. That's something I really, really love, and I've tried to do, and I could try harder to do. I could really, really try hard and contact people to sit in, and I've got contacts with the industry. I've got loads and loads of contacts within the industry, but I just really, really struggle to put myself out there for that. What else do I want to do? I want to be a composer. You know, talk about highs. It's not completely fully done and official yet, as in like I haven't posted anything on there yet, but I'm being published as a composer, which is massive. I'm being published by Universal Edition. So I sent emails out last year or earlier this year, just sort of being like, hey, wind bands of the UK. A wind band, if you don't know, a wind band is a bit like an orchestra, except there's no strings. And they've just got a job lot more other stuff to cover for it. Your flutes, your clarinets, your saxes, your bassoons, your horns, your trumpets, your trombones, your tubas, your euphoniums, your percussion, that kind of thing. And I got an email back from Keith Allen, who is the owner and the organizer for the National Concert Band Festival. And he said to me, would you like to write a piece for the band of the RAF College to play your piece? Wait, sorry, let me say that sentence again, but not like a moron. Would you like to write a piece that will be performed by the band of the RAF College? And it was performed at the Royal Northern College of Music, which is my alma mater, which is pretty cool. And so I wrote a piece. It was a piece that I'd already written, to be fair, but I reorchestrated it for wind band and, you know, ironed out the edges and stuff. The RAF band played it amazingly. I took my parents up to the festival. It was really, really, really sweet. I remember we were sat like really near the back. The concert hall at the RNCM is not the biggest concert hall in the world, but it's certainly pretty big. And there's quite a steep incline at the very back. And we were sat in there. I was sandwiched between my parents, and then there's like 10 people to the left of us, and then a couple people to the right of us. In fact, no, I think we were like, okay, so there's like a corner with like a crease, and we were sat really near the crease, and then it sort of corners and becomes more people. So there's loads of people that way, loads of people that way. There's no easy way to get out. And so they called me down to come and do a bow. So I had to like go down this crease and be like, oh, I'm really sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me just come through. You know, and I'm a big dude. You know, I set aside the big bone of it all. Not that kind of bone. The joke was right there. I can only apologize. So I'm 6'3". I'm a big unit. There's a lot of me. Okay, now just let me go on a quick tangent here. Some of my co-workers at Trinity are really, really lovely, especially the ones that I used to sit near when I was working for juniors. And I always love. I remember before Christmas, I used to always come up to them and be like, "Oh, I went on a date," and they'd always want to hear about that kind of gossip. And then I told them once I really want a nickname, and I said I think I've come up with one. I really wanted them to call me Big Rig, and immediately, one of my colleagues said that is too overtly sexual to call yourself Big Rig. I was like, no, not Big Rig like that. No, I just mean like I'm quite a big unit, right? I'm a Big Rig, you know, like a lorry. I'm a Big Rig. And yeah, she was not having it. She's like, no, it sounds like you're trying to aggrandize yourself in a sexual matter. You should not do that. I was like, okay, fair enough. Note taken. But how stupid. Anyway, let me get back to my story. So we're sat near the crease, and they invite me onto stage to come and give a bow and whatever, take a bow. And I go down through the crease. Oh, sorry. Make my way all the way down. I have a handshake with the conductor, and that was great. And then I met where squadron leader Richard Murray, I believe his name is. He's a lovely, lovely guy. Loved working with him. I made my way back up. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me just get past. Oh, sorry. Sat down again next to my parents, and then Keith comes out. Keith Allen, the organizer, comes out and he says, "Oh, can we invite Eden back down again?" It's like, bro, did you not just see the torment I had to go through to get down there? It's like, oh, sorry, yep, sorry, let me just come past. And they were like, you know, there was like, it was lovely because there was like little old women being like, oh, don't say sorry, it's okay, dear. Just like, oh, yeah, thanks, yeah, thank you. That makes it worse actually because you're so nice. I'm sorry. I made my way down to the front, and yeah, Keith chatted to me and said, yeah, we're really impressed with your piece. You're one of the I think you're NCBF's Young Composer 2023, which I thought was pretty cool. So I am the 2023 National Concert Band Festival Young Composer, which is a pretty cool thing, I get to say. That's pretty rad. I need to put that on my website, actually. I'm going to make a mental note of that, which I will inevitably forget within the next 2 minutes. But yeah, so basically he said, oh, we loved your piece. Well done. You may have noticed in the trade stands outside that Universal Edition are here. I had noticed that, and I thought, oh, cool, Universal Edition. They're the cats that publish people like Mahler and Shostakovich and whatever. And he said, yeah, so they're here, and they're gonna offer to publish you worldwide. And I honestly nearly cried on stage. I was like, what? Because I didn't even know that was like a thing that could have happened. I didn't realize that was a thing. I was really taken aback by it. I was like, oh my God, what? Because that's quite a big thing. Like, to get published in the composition world is massive. Like, it's not to be taken lightly. And so basically I went and had a word with this guy from Universal Edition. He's like, yeah, we're going to publish you. You need to send me some stuff. And so it's all in the process at the minute of getting work done. But as soon as I get this thing, I'll be able to upload as much music as I want to their website, and, you know, orchestras and ensembles and soloists all over the world can buy my music. It's crazy, right? That's mad. This is insane. This is insanity. So I'm very excited about that. Very, very, very excited about that. But yeah, and so like yeah, that's a massive high, a huge high, like to the point where it's like that's so high. Why am I feeling low right now? I think maybe it comes from like maybe it's that once they said, okay, you're the NCBF Young Composer 2023, you're going to get published by Universal Edition. I'm thinking to myself, well, gee willikers, Batman, I'm a rock star now. I am king of the music. I am the music king. And so why am I sat doing spreadsheets on Excel? Why am I sat doing working for other people, when I am, Mr. Big Balls? So maybe my current low comes from a bit of unwarranted big dick energy. I don't know. I hope not. I don't think I'm that kind of person, but I definitely see that there is a window in which I could be making money as a composer, and yet I'm still stuck doing something else for a day job. What else do I want to do? I've written in my head a novel. Like I have this entire science fiction fantasy novel, maybe even a novel series in my head of stuff that I want to get done, and like it's a whole story. It's just this novel I want to write, and I've been writing it in my head for like 10 years. And why haven't I written any of it? I haven't written any of it down. Is it just for me? Because like if I could publish it and sell it, that'd be good, right? But why aren't I? I've been writing a short film. I've got some script together, but I certainly know everything that I want to happen in the short film. Why haven't I filmed it? I'm filming this. I've got friends who can do the filming for me. I've got loads of friends who are actors. I've got loads of friends, even better, who are out of work actors who will do it for very little money. I don't have any money to pay them with, of course, but, I have my ways. I'm not going to sleep with actors to get them on my films. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, because, of course, only I win out of that situation anyway, because they wouldn't get much out of that. But I definitely think that there's scope that I could just do that. I'm a podcaster, right? What's this? I'm podcasting right now. I'm speaking into a microphone and I'm podcasting. I'm working on my plog. And I've got loads of other plug ideas. Like I really want to start a podcast with my buddy about long and wild films. I think there are some films that really qualify as being just long, wild movies. Movies where you're like, this film is long and this film is mental. I recently watched Beau is Afraid at the cinema, and I think that gave me the idea, because Beau is Afraid is like 3 hours long, and it's honestly one of the most confusing, crazy, amazing movies I've ever seen. I really enjoyed it, but it was a slog. Like, it was definitely like I had to work my way through the film. But I thought it was really good. It's still sticking with me. I'm still thinking about it. I love Ari Aster. I mean, Hereditary and Midsommar are two incredible movies, but Beau is Afraid, very polarizing flick, weird flick, hard to understand flick. It's wild and it's long, and I think it deserves being spoken about. So, there's that. So, like, who am I? Who am I? I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm a composer. I'm a drummer. I'm a podcaster. I'm a writer. I'm a filmmaker. But I'm also but then I spend fucking 3 days of every week administrating. But I've never once thought of myself as an administrator, and it's just so frustrating. There's something better out there for me. I really actually started thinking about going into teaching. I remember I used to work in a school back in Stoke. It's the school that I went to actually, and after university. Just before I started my masters, I started my masters in 2019, and so the year before that, the academic year 18-19, I went and worked in my old secondary school, and I worked as a music tech. And I remember the head of music, Craig Gilligan, who's a great friend, incredible musician, and just someone who, if you know Craig, which none of you do, apart from you, Mum, I guess, he's one of those people that you feel very, very lucky to have had him in your life. He really, really is. He's a really special, one-of-a-kind person. And I feel very, very, very lucky to have known him. And he's ace. But yeah, I worked for him, and he would say to me, like, you should do a skit or teacher training because you'd be good at it. And I kind of believed him. Like, I think I could be a fairly decent teacher. I love, working with children, as I've been working with juniors the last year, and I love education. I love being part of education. But I feel like with teaching, I don't know if anyone else agrees with this. Like, if you become a full-time teacher, it feels like that's really like a path. Even more than a path, it's like a highway, like a motorway. Once you're on that, it's really difficult to get off again. It feels like that would be all encompassing, all consuming as a career, and rightly so. As in, like, I would want to give 120% to those kids and to the future of music and all that kind of stuff. But then it feels a little bit like I would be giving up on some of my own aspirations. And so, again, highs and lows. Like, the high would be coming from helping these kids, working with these kids, being excited about the future, getting kids excited about music, being in the classroom. The lows would be that I'd have to put myself aside. And teaching is like the most selfless thing a person can do. I mean, teaching is really awesome. When you find teachers who are actually like really good teachers and actually are empathetic, care about their students, work really hard for their students, those cats are gods, man. Like, those cats are amazing. Like, my other music teacher, Derek Hurst, just one of the most incredible, insane musicians of all time, and just decided to become a music teacher at my school and changed like so many kids' lives with music. I mean, let me put it this way. At Trinity, I work there. There's a student there who I know who went to my school. There is another member of staff on the admin floor who went to my school, and one of the composition lecturers went to my school as well. There are 4 people currently at Trinity Laban who went to my school. RNCM, I went there. I know for sure a bassist who went there, 2 guitarists who went there, all 3 of them brothers, to be fair. I know 3 singers who went there, one of whom is currently still there. And the composition lecturer who works at Trinity also went there and also taught me whilst I was there. Like, there's just an abundance of people from my school who ended up at these places because our music teachers were just incredible. And these music teachers had incredible careers before, or certainly things they were doing before, and you think to yourself, wow, they kind of decided that actually they care more about us and what we're doing, and that's magic. And I don't know if I could emulate that level of empathy, to be completely honest with you. I'm just going to talk a little bit about, because I've just been talking about who am I? I don't know, but I went up to the Royal Northern College of Music to do the NCBF, the National Concert Band Festival, and I went up recently again to play in my buddy Ross's recital. Ross is a monster player. Ross McDonnell, shout out, big up Ross McDonnell. Incredible musician. Like, he's one of those people who's incredible at both classical trombone playing and jazz playing. Don't get many of those cats, I have to say. You really don't get many of those cats. But I was playing in the Impulse Ensemble, which is an ensemble he started. It's me, it's Marcel on bass, it's Killian on the cello, Jasmine on the saxophone, and Oliver on the keys. And every now and again we have Will on the trumpet as well, and then obviously Ross on the trombone. And I went up and played in his 3rd year recital. Let me put it this way, there's not many musicians I would travel all the way from London to Manchester, which is a hefty journey price-wise nowadays, to play in his recital. I didn't get paid to do it. In fact, I lost money on the weekend because I obviously got the train. I went and got brunch with friends, which was nice. But yeah, so in both those cases, I went up to Manchester, and I'm kind of scared of Manchester, it turns out. I lived in Manchester from May 2019 until June 2022. So just over 3 years. And yeah, I miss it. I really, really miss Manchester so much. But there's a pair of people who live there two people. I know this is silly. Two people in an entire city, but there's two people who live there, and I just don't know what I would do if I saw either of them. Like every person I walked past on the street, I'd be like making sure that it wasn't one of them. Because I just don't know how I'd cope. Not well. I don't think I'd cope well. And it just kind of freaks me out. Even though that was my home and I was there before both of them were there, it freaks me out, the idea of seeing them. Maybe it's because I'm weak, and I I can't handle it and can't stomach it. I'm fragile, maybe, but even if that is the case, for my own mental health, I need to be aware of this and careful. But I love London. I love living here. I think it's really fun. There's loads of stuff to do. I live in a really nice place. I live near Greenwich, and Greenwich is gorgeous. I wish it was a bit more central, but that's fine. I live with some really lovely folks. I get so much out of London. I've been dating someone since like January, and I met her in London. London has brought me so many things. But it ain't Manchester. Manchester's a really, really special place to me. When I was a kid, I remember it was one of those things where all the greatest musicians from Stoke, young musicians, would end up at the RNCM, because the RNCM was like the tip top of where you could possibly be as a musician. And I remember going to an open day. I may have spoken about this before on the podcast, but I remember going to an open day when I was like 14, 15 to look at the junior department, and just immediately got there and were like, nah. I remember saying to my mum, like, these cats are better than me. I probably didn't say cats. I don't think I was talking with that kind of post-jazz nomenclature, but I remember turning to my mum and being like, I don't think I can go here. Because my mum had said to me, because it's quite expensive to go there, my mum had said, like, we would struggle to send you here. You'd have to really know that you want to be here so that we can pick up some extra shifts or do something to get you to go here, to get you here. Because it's the travel to and from Manchester every week, and it's also like just the course itself. And she was like, you really need to be sure that you want to go here before we can send you here. And yeah, I turned around to her and was like, yeah, no, everyone here is better than me. Like, I was like, no, everyone's better. Everyone is better. These are all good at music people. I'm okay at music. I love music, but these guys have been better than me for years already. And so I remember that. And then I remember I did my undergraduate degree. I didn't even think about going to the RNCM. And then I remember applying for the Masters straight out of university, didn't get in. I waited another 2.5 years before I tried again, and then I did get in, which was very good and very nice, and I loved being at the RNCM. It was a huge privilege for me, as in, I every day I was there, I couldn't believe I'd made it. It felt like making it. It really, really did. It was a real validation and a real sense of, holy shit, maybe I'm good at music. And now there's two people who I also met at the RNCM who make me scared to be in the place that I love the most. The RNCM, the building itself, is my favourite building in the world, and I feel like I'm not allowed to go there. Of course I'm allowed to go, but I feel just scared to be there. And that's a really weird position to be in. Really not a fan of that. Because now I feel like I can't leave London, because for several reasons. The first reason being that if you leave London, I feel like it's a bit of a slight, or to me anyway, this is my own fucked up belief, that it feels like you've failed. If I can't make it in London, if I can't make it, then I'll have failed. I can't move back to Stoke because there's nothing there. There's my family, and that's it. And I love my family to death, but there's just no opportunities for me in Stoke. I could go back to Manchester, but like I said, I'm scared to death of seeing those two people. Whenever I go up and visit, I'm always on high alert, and I don't like that feeling. Could move back to Liverpool. Not really much there for me anymore. I've not lived there since 2016. I don't know what I could get from that, you know? So yeah, I don't know what all this means. But you know, this plog is just, it's a log, right? I'm just telling you about my life. And that's just something I've been feeling recently. I feel rudderless, I feel disconnected, I feel foggy. But I'm trying. I've got this podcast. I'm going to try and make some videos this afternoon. This is a studio that I co-rent with a few other cats down here. And you know what? I'm strong. If everyone out there could be strong with me, that'd be great. Please. I'm sounding like a victim or something, and I'm not. I can't think of myself like that. People go through much worse than what I've gone through on a daily basis. I just know that, you know, in October I thought about throwing myself in front of a a tube. And you know, I've recently started seeing a new therapist, which is great because recently I started feeling down again, and I don't know how else to explain it other than I put myself in the position of victim, as in I want to please everyone so much that I put myself last, and then those few times I ever have put myself first, it's always ended up worse for me. And yeah, I just feel kind of sad a lot of the time. I'm okay. I'm working through it. This is positive steps. Don't feel sorry for me. Don't be worried for me. Just, you know, maybe take what I say and see if you can get something out of it. I don't know if you will. You might just be worried about me, and that's okay. But I promise that I'm working hard to try and be better, get better. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end the podcast. Sorry, it went a bit down there at the end. I like to end with some song recommendations. So I'm going to start with the fact that Avenged Sevenfold have recently released a new album, and I listened to it for the first time today. Avenged Sevenfold were my favourite band when I was, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, 17, like that whole time. I just started noticing them once they'd released their self-titled album in 2007. And I think I don't remember that album coming out, but I remember my friend showing me the Live at the LBC DVD and being like, okay, these cats is crazy. I want to hear more about what they're doing. And then the drummer, who I grew to fall in love with, tragically passed away in 2010. And so since then, their output has been very, very different from what the music that I loved. And this album is the same. It's very, very radically different from the Avenged Sevenfold that I love, but I thought there was a load of cool stuff in there, and I thought it's really radical and a really cool set of concepts. And so the song on there that I thought was really, really cool is a song called Cosmic. There's this great bit in the middle section where there's all this orchestral stuff and it's building, and then there's this rising synthesized tone. Or it might be a guitar, maybe, I don't know, but it's like rising. And as it's rising, it will occasionally hit the chord, so the chord will change underneath and it'll hit it with it, and then it'll move up, and then it'll hit a note and be in tune with that chord, but it's out of tune the rest of the time because it's slowly sliding up, but then occasionally it will go into tune. Very, very cool. Very, very cool effect. I really enjoyed listening to that earlier. Dodie is an artist that I really, really like. I've liked her for a very long time. I think her music is beautiful and haunting. And she's just started a new band called Fizz. And they've got a new single off their new album called High in Brighton. And it's really, really good. You should go check it out. And then this song's a little bit older, only like a couple years older. It's called How Much Do You Love Me? And it's by, well, it's not by Vulfpeck. It's by a Vulfpeck adjacent artist called Vulfmon, which is, I think, the main guy from Vulfpeck. But he's got this song with Jacob Jeffries called How Much Do You Love Me? And I love it. It's a great tune. I think it's beautiful, and I think his voice is incredible, and I think you should go check it out. I haven't got a poem this time. I think we've already gone far too long. This is already indulgent at sort of 50 minutes. So thank you for listening. I love you all. Peace out. Stay fresh. Eat fresh. What am I doing? Have a good one, and I'll see you later.